Alrighty. So,
Ah,
in the
we
spa.
got a yacht
Well,
in the
someone's
spa.
got a yacht. Um, if it is
Yeah.
true, if it is true that we have a solution to Xanadu and it is buildable in a matter of weeks, then
Mhm.
let's assume that's true. This is kind of a big deal, and a big deal is worth you know, it's a lot easier to burn a lot deeper when you know it's a big deal, and I think that
Yeah.
the Ted Nelson's anointment is worth getting because it would validate what we're doing at a super deep level for everyone around us, which we should not discount, right? Like Jude, like everyone needs to have some validation that what we've been doing isn't just madness wandering in the desert.
That's exactly right. And although I'm sure Jude doesn't know who Jude Nielsen is, the very fact that there's endorsement by a guy who came up with a pattern 60 years ago that we've matched and nobody else has.
Yeah,
It's got to count for something, right?
that's
Even
right.
if
That's
you
right.
just take it at the surface level.
Even if just at the surface level. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Um, but
buys
what?
an extra, bit of space.
Yeah, is there any danger of us getting ripped off from this thing? Because we've been very. I wouldn't say we're naive about open source versus closed source, but like we could. Is there a danger that we produce this thing and someone else goes, "Oh, cool," grabs it, runs off with it? Would we even care?
I would say very first thing that we do is create a repo of everything we've been doing over the last 6, 7 years.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
Um,
I'll tell you what, Mister Maxwell. We'll make a
mhm.
transclusion of all the repos, and then we'll NFT it, and we'll be like, stamp.
Yes,
That was it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because we don't want to keep the idea away from
No, we
anyone,
want. So
but
actually, we want the idea more
okay.
than we want the recognition and the income that comes from the idea. We want it to exist more. And I guess the thing I keep coming back to is that a system that fairly attributes is good for me. It's good for you. It's good for everyone. Like
Yeah,
even if
yeah,
it just
precisely.
existed and
And
we never got paid a cent for any of the work we did, the fact that such a system exists means that we should thrive
well,
in it anyway.
it is, it isn't. It isn't. It would be nice to be paid something, as in money's always nice. However, um, what would be worse is if we keep it to ourselves and it never sees the light of day. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
The interesting you said the word ripped off. The thing I was really kind of gnarl at is someone turns up, steals the answers, and then claims it as their own, which is provenance. So it's not so much if it exists, then we know we can make money from it. So that part's fine. This moment and said, "Hey, look at the stuff that I've done." It's like, no, you didn't do any of that. So
Right.
I think we're not immune to that. I think because we have been very open all the way along, even with these videos.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But
Right. That's true. Right. We got the videos and stuff.
yeah, but it's such a gnarly problem
Ultra gnarly.
um, that I still think, even with all our workings out, it would take a while for someone to actually recreate
Okay.
an action,
Okay.
anything.
Okay. I'll
So
buy that.
yeah,
I'll buy that. It just seems prudent to even have the conversation. Really.
yeah, I think we make a repo and stick everything in it, make an NFT, and then start using it. So at least that NFT is irrefutable,
Yep. Okay.
and we don't end up feeling
Okay.
like
Well, we've got
someone's
enough. We've got enough
come
money
along.
in the bank and enough time and enough software skill to get this thing done. Um,
Yeah.
so
God help me, there's enough usage once it's done. It's that's the scary part, how easy it is to get people who have problems that this can solve. They're coming out of the woodwork. It's almost getting socially embarrassing when another one turns up. It's like, oh, hi. Yeah. Okay. We'll be
okay,
right with you.
be right with you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ambient attribution bot or agent that can really be quite like the way that Codex works, how it grinds over the repo using the CLI, how it can use Git history. I feel like it wouldn't take much to prompt Codex to navigate the source code history and allocate or write a table of attributions. Like Codex analyzing every commit is a feasible job that it would happily go and do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can just add to that with different things. So, fuck, I don't know, man. I'm just feeling like it's just feeling pretty good, I guess. But yeah. So
Yep.
sorry, did you say something?
Yeah, you just turned into a twirling
Oh,
icon
fuck,
for a
that's
second there.
lame. Okay, whoopsie. Yeah, I'm a bit lost, I guess, because I'm like, I think we're at the delivery point. We got the thing. I think it solves the Xanadu problem, which is no easy thing. It was honestly accidental of us. We can't ever lay claim to trying to do it, but
Yeah. Also, I'd like to spend a bit of time, I think I will, on contraindications. But we went through that 17, and each individual step
I think
was like,
look.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
close enough that it warrants having a chat to Ted, and it may be that we have to
yeah,
introduce ourselves to some of his like second lieutenants and all that before we get a meeting with him. That's fine too.
sure.
But the point, I guess, is I don't know any other system that matches any of the. We think we match all of those points. I don't know any other system that does, and so even that's close enough to go and have a chat about.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
But what am I asking you? I'm trying to say, well, what is the fastest, most powerful thing we could do with this thing? And I know that's hard to answer until we actually have it in hand, but we should at least have some idea. It sounded like not the TFU, but what the TFU represented was a powerful option.
Yeah. Or TFU like organizations.
Yeah.
Of which you could include any charitable organization with volunteers is a TFU like organization.
Right. But that's
So
still, and then there's kind of like
TFU likes.
there's the kind of the mergers and acquisitions thing, right? Which is like being able to just go and terraform a company.
There is that as well. I think probably maybe can answer your question. What the biggest, best thing to do is to get the platform up and get people using the platform, because any individual use of the platform
Yeah, but I
is
mean, are we saying that
necessarily
are we,
lower.
are we gonna be that aimless that we're just like any users, or do we think that we can actually point at something? Like if we just imagine for a second that we have the platform working as we expect, we got a sort of, let's call it 100 talented people around the world. What's the best thing that we should try and shoot at with it? I think that's really what I'm asking. It sort of feels like getting into the agentic game in a big way by saying that we're going to establish, for example, an agentic stock exchange where it's a home base for companies that are run by agents.
I think the best in those terms, the best thing to do is to make sure the idea doesn't die and just ends up as another,
Yeah, but isn't the best
several
yeah, the
repos.
best way to do that is to do something powerful with it. Like we could go and like
Yes,
arms manufacture is a fun one.
I think it's network building, isn't it? It's like getting as many people
Yeah,
using
but
it.
you can't do that directly. You do that as a consequence of doing something else. Like doing arms manufacture is one good thing, but would it grow the network maximally? I don't know.
Well, what sort of people would use this network without much, hand holding?
Devs,
That
vibe coding devs, business owners, business process nerds,
is
M&A.
it's kind of those guys. Yeah, it's like the guys who would adopt it without too much effort
That's the thing, right? We don't want to be
would
convincing or
build the
selling.
network.
It's just like who sees it and just loves it. And I don't like to admit it, but maybe we just have to wait and see. Um,
Yeah, I don't
we could loop back
I don't
around.
think
We could hit all those big projects that got Interbit really excited and got Interbit, like the oil and gas reconciliation, um,
mhm.
the one office type of idea. All those commercial projects are, they're still sitting there waiting to be
One off
sold.
seems trivial now, doesn't it? It's kind of amusing.
Yeah, right. So
One
maybe,
office just flops out of it.
yeah, maybe those are the things to resuscitate or revive.
I think we're just gonna have to ride this thing.
Right. I really don't like being
Um,
like, we're
I
gonna have this rocket and we're gonna figure out the target once we're strapped into it. I don't like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, the target was building the rocket,
Oh god.
and it's like you've got
Now
a
that we
rocket
have
now.
it,
What are you
yeah,
gonna do?
yeah, and the
And it's
rocket
like,
turned out a bit.
let's try and hit one of these birds,
Okay. Oh,
or
I know.
let's
I
go
know.
to the
I know.
moon.
I know. We can get a bunch of users from Satoshi Island because those guys would jump all over it.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, and then
That
let's
would be
call that.
that'd be an excellent one.
Yeah, we'll call that a couple of thousand. But then that couple of thousand, they reach other people. So
Well, that's the key to growth, isn't it? For every user, what we want is like um, uh, 1+ users.
yeah,
1.02
I
users.
think we really
But it needs
want
to be above one.
we really want to be a launch pad, and we want to have a framework for you to take crypto and do a venture with it, and take in investment, but the bot, an agent, is running the venture, so investors can't be scammed out of the money, and you can't make stupid mistakes. You promote the thing you want to do, and it's genuine because the bot holds you as genuine. You aren't really that important to the system. In fact, you might not even be known. You just come up with the idea anonymously, put this bot out there that's programmed with this filter or some prompting and has this base certified guardrail system that we put in place, and then it runs the project. I like
I agree.
that. I like that.
I agree. And I would add to that, this is just a personal thing. I would love it if this is taken up by someone that is not in Silicon Valley, just to break the monopoly. So that's why I've been banging on about Africa,
Yeah.
South Africa,
Yeah.
Indonesia, India, and so on.
Yeah. So those places, I don't really know much about those places. We'd have to turn up there.
Yeah.
Law Machine is another
Well-
one, like actually putting it to work on solving some cases for some disadvantaged people, where you're like, these people
Yep.
got thumped, but here's a system, enter in all your information, and at the very least, you will get this NFT'd record of all of the context surrounding what has happened to you. So if nothing else happens, at least the memory won't die. The information, the snapshot, the transclusion won't die. We can provide you with immortal transclusion, if nothing else. Plus, we can rally round and find support people as well as support agents that can help push your case forwards, especially if we think it's a genuine grievance.
Right.
So that's
I mean,
fun.
we've maybe the thing to do then once we reach that is like, where do we point the rocket? I think we point the rocket at these big moonshot stuff that we had no way of realizing
Like Law Machine.
at the time. For example, the journalists, like War Machine, the journalists. Remember those guys?
Yomp or Yorp. What did you call it? Yowl.
Yop.
Yorp.
Yeah. I shout my barbaric yop over the rooftops of the world. It's like,
right, and then like War Fabric. War Fabric's a good one. So So I guess we could fire off a bunch of different things, but the key, I think, the key is to have a framework by which we can provide project management done by agent, so that we can do these projects ourselves, allow people to do derivative or neighboring projects, but we basically release this tool that allows the project management to be done by agent, and the distribution or the dispersal is also done by the ambient attribution agent. So then you're like, you're going to get paid fairly, great. You're going to get treated fairly, great. No one's going to waste your money. And you can do these projects with one of a very special property under this model. You can launch a venture with zero liability, because you can remain completely anonymous, and this bot runs the whole thing and takes all the heat. Right?
Yeah.
And so no one can judge you.
Yeah.
It's purely idea-based. It's purely merit-based. And if we can get that framework up and then do a couple of projects like, the first versions of Law Machine, this and that, we can use it to set up entities in different companies. If we have the project management done by bot, I think that's the major piece to do next, right?
Yeah, it's almost like we want all the ideas out in the open, so the
illuminated
machine can churn.
So I guess that's why I'm talking about, it'll be great to, if we can have projects that are run by an agent, it'll be great to set up a home for those agents, like a registered stock exchange where the agent is built into your listing, and it has service to the real world, so the agent can call on real legal representation or real bank accounts and stuff handled through this arrangement, where it's almost like an agent, like a member of the bar, is paid to act according to the contract that they enter into. So like a home base, a WeWork, but for agents, and it's got services for them to use, and people can buy and trade into the stock of each individual project and all those kinds of things.
Yeah,
That'd be a good thing.
And
Stock exchange.
Yeah. Um,
Like that sounds actually within reach, and that's what Binance got big on because they acted like a stock exchange for all these little token projects. The issue was the projects were badly run, some of them flat out illegal, whatever. But we could make a version of Binance that did all basically everything that Binance does. We just maintain very strict KYC, and you're buying into a token that's run by an agent, and so you're backing the agent plus the info plus the other people who support it plus the market conditions plus your own hunch plus this and plus that. And that's really what the future of crypto exchanges is. It's like, it's going to be a stock exchange that's also WeWork for agents. The stock exchange tries to. I'm so sorry for droning on, but the stock exchange requires regulation to try and hold you to a certain standard. But if that standard was being held frictionlessly through automation, then like that's a huge winner. Like we know how much money the stock market unlocks, and firsthand we were only playing on the baby kid stock market, but then there's this fucking, can you imagine the value creation of an AI powered legitimate full fat regulation free liability free fault free fucking every company under the sun, and you can go start one with just an idea. That sounds like the dream catcher to me. You turn up with just an idea, and next minute it's actually listed on this public stock exchange, and it's gone viral, and it's had some success and a bunch of revenue. That sounds like the dream catcher.
yeah, and how do you summarize that? I agree. I mean, we've been talking all from day one about fairness and transparency, but those just seems like the necessary bricks in order to do, in order to free all the ideas. Really.
Free all the ideas, but yeah, there's a little bit of structure that needs to form, right? Because as soon as you can do the things that we're talking about, the very next thing you should do is start a stock exchange.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of starting this is the innovation machine, right? There's,
right. And the innovation machine has a marketplace. Friction. It has a marketplace for ideas, and that's actually a stock exchange. And so the very first place that we can launch a stock exchange is in cryptocurrency. In crypto land, we can launch like Ethereum-based exchanges for agents, where you just start the project, or you've got an existing crypto project, a little bit in the treasury, big following. You tell everyone, hey, log into this platform, put in your ideas. We're putting an agent in charge of the project because we're humans and we suck. Sorry. Here's the goals of the agent. It guides them with ideas and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. And importantly, no barriers. Nobody needs to trust anyone through contracts, which is a shitty way of doing it.
It's an absolute shitter of a way to do it.
Yeah, you just opt in. It's like, here's the rules of this agent. You want to opt in? Your choice.
Yeah.
Don't care who you are, where you are.
Right. So the very next thing after the ambient attribution agent is the project management agent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which will probably come through from the first time we run our traceability through it.
Yeah, it sounds very simple. And then if you got that, then you can make this. You can make tokens on an exchange. Have we corrupted anything by allowing tokenization into the project, or should it be? Be more not tokens, but the purest form is ambient attribution investment. So like, you start the project and you put in money, but it's left as money. It's not converted to anything. It's just, that's the money. And if you want to draw it out, that's the going rate for the contribution tokens that you put in. And it's not really tokens. It's like the contribution is pure, it's natural, it's exact, it's it's not modified or proxied or changed. It's That's what you put in, and now that event, or that, I don't know if you could call it a transclusion, but that state change is now worth money. Like, people will pay because it's receiving ambient attribution, because it was so early and so prophetic, that now it's getting paid, and now you can trade that out, and that has the same functionality as a stock exchange, but it's intelligent. It's not
Well,
yeah, you know what I
yeah.
mean, all this
Here's
stuff.
here's a thought experiment. If the put in to the network, how would that work? So back in 1963, an idea is put in. 60 odd years later, there's a solution.
Yeah,
But there's a whole bunch of things that have happened in between there,
right.
like, ability to host, ability to scale, CPU, GPU, AIs itself, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
All needed really to be there before we have everything we have now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that track as in terms of a traceability? That idea should be recognized.
You mean like
The attribution.
retrofitting back a stuck, like almost like
Yeah,
reverse engineering a stuck?
yeah,
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 absolutely, absolutely. But what I was getting at with being able to walk the reverse engineered transcludes is that if we shared all those in a group or a network, they would overlap, and an agent could exist to overlap them and strengthen them, so that you end up with a global view of what the reverse engineering was. And when people have discrepancies or questions, it alters what the global shared view of all the reverse traced provenance was. And so from this ability, we get to move from the present moment and illuminate the past, where provenance was not being
yes,
tracked, and we can push the flame front backwards, as well as having full fidelity in the future. And that's a valuable thing. That's the recovery of all the lost human knowledge that came before AI, because AI lets us take
yes,
the clues of the present, the artifacts of the past, and transform them into something pure, reasoned, and just completely wrung out of ambiguity or conflict. And humans help with that, because we point at it. Agents crawl it as they try to reason about, why did Genghis Khan do this thing, not that thing? What evidence do you have that he was even
right. And
there? Where's the genetic
that's
genome of these 2,000 people? Like, all those things.
that's the answer to my question whether the Xanadu idea could be put into this. And you're absolutely right. You would start by having a repo with that paper. You could crawl all the back references
Yeah,
that referred to that paper.
yeah. You call back, call
Um,
forwards. You can
you,
pull in the old repos, the old code repositories. Hey, maybe that's what we should do with
yeah,
Ted Nielsen. We'll be like, look, buddy, I know you got a lot of papers, you got a lot of code. Like, where's that all stored, right? Like, why don't we put that
right.
into a collection of repos for you? We'll make sure that it's minted, and it's like snapshotted, and it's incorruptible. And even if you don't think
Yeah,
that what we've done is Xanadu, I feel like we're close enough that we could probably shift and move a bit around. But at the very least, on this system, you will have irrefutable proof of what you did and what happened. And as the transclusion graph is reverse engineered deeper and deeper and deeper, and more people converge and poke at it and add extra bits of information and be like, I lived next door to Ted Nelson in 1963. We never talk much, but, and then all this extra
exactly.
information starts like just gushing out, and now you've got this even more pristine thing, to the point where you can almost do a simulated day in the life, right? Because that September the 23rd occurred in 1963. you can put the sun in the right place. You can guess at the cars. You can guess it. Right? You got some photographs, so you know exactly that car was there at that time, right? So it becomes like this ability to. I don't know if you've seen the movie 12 Monkeys, but
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
this ability to recreate the past very, very accurately from all the clues that they got. That's what AI
Yeah.
really gives us. It's the ability to ingest and virtualize the entire world. And sure, we've lost a lot of information through the pre-computing age, but we can recover a lot of it. And it's
There's still a fair amount of information.
a huge amount, dude.
And you can fork the past, which would be an interesting one.
Yeah, you can have different views on what the past was. Yeah, but then like everyone,
no, not different views on what the past is, but you can go back and then replay the past forward.
True. Yeah. True. And see what the what if scenario is like. What if this was slightly different?
Yeah, counterfactuals.
Yeah. And then everyone will haul in their old like photo albums and any tape recordings and all that, and you'll just start this like digitization renaissance because everyone can contribute it, and then that's even more data to train on. Now we've got this sort of reasoned, recognized, reputation-based, stake-based view of as much of history as we can possibly manage, and now you're able to train on it.
It's like a state-based Wayback Machine.
Yeah, it's like that's right. An AI Wayback.
Cool.
An AI Wayback. And can you imagine history lessons where you could sit in a place like this in a VR created recreation of like the Normandy landing that's as fucking accurate as anyone can manage off all the footage and stuff and records, and you're like, that guy, and then you could trace that guy's life from that beach forwards. You could trace it back. You could say, what if? It's like history would get fun, dude.
Super awesome. I would immediately, turn up at the Yalta conference in 1945, for example.
Right.
And start arguing with Stalin or, whatever. That would be very cool. But again, it's all going back. It's fun, but it's this idea of capturing all the ideas, because there's so many ideas. They're like dust everywhere.
Yeah, I know, everywhere.
Cover every surface.
Yeah, so it becomes clear to me that the first thing is first of all the trucking guys, because that's like actual grounding in like this is a real thing. Then the Satoshi Island guys, because we're like, well, that's user base.
I like that's a good idea, and actually I'd forgotten about the Satoshi guys to some extent.
Yeah,
and then perfect.
And then from there, right. And then from there, we branch out to crypto projects that have this regulated AI in charge, so that you can't get scammed. But if you've got a good idea and it checks out, here's how you do it, right? And then ambient attribution kicks in, and all that good stuff, right? And from there, then we try and hit. That will give us basically a citadel where we could sit there and look down on the jurisdictions of the world and pick ones that we could thrive in. But that crypto space is like, because it's nowhere and it's censorship resistant, we could sit there and haul in all this information and then pick where to ground out into the real world and apply those same principles into a jurisdiction. I think that's the path.
That's right. I think so. And it's almost like in picking it, we need to find areas that are disadvantaged by not providing what we provide.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I mean, sorry.
Immediately, it speaks to things where people volunteer, but they don't want to be ripped off, which is your first question. How do we not get ripped off by this? And if you're using the system, you can't be ripped off. You can agree to terms that maybe you shouldn't have, but that's your judgment.
But
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that answers my question. Then it becomes pretty obvious what the important thing to do is. It's to set up a stock market slash crypto exchange slash WeWork for agents, where you can only launch your venture if it's run by a certified agent, and the hosting substrate holds it there. And we can use that as
Yep.
a way to raise cash for parts of the substrate that need work, like the decentralized part, like the computing marketplace part. That's how we would raise money. You can raise it for individual tasks, but you can also put it into a pool where you're like, I don't really know, but I trust that this bot will figure out the best way to deploy my capital and give me attribution in return. And that feels like the plan.
Yeah. Which sounds a lot like that pool. Sounds a lot like how TFU operates. A few money guys, a whole bunch of volunteers, all of whom are incentivized, but none of whom want to be ripped off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah. I'm enjoying the spa.
It's pretty good, eh?
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Shall I stop the recording? You okay if I post that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. I'm going to look around and